one part of becoming real or living in the real world is to realize that there are times that you are powerless. There are times where you are being victimized and you are helpless. And in those moments, sometimes you may be able to do a bit, sometimes you may be able to do nothing, and sometimes you just can't. And a lot of people feel guilty about this. A lot of people feel ashamed that they did not do anything to stop the trauma from happening when it was happening in the first place. So one thing is discharging the guilt that comes with being victimized. It may sound very contradictory, but a lot of victims feel guilty that they were not able to stop the trauma. Additionally, allowing yourself to feel victimized is also important. To honor that this event took place, to honor that you went through this, and there is a power in that. There is a power in being powerless. There is a power in accepting your vulnerability and your powerlessness. And recognizing that power is very important. Recognizing that I was able to go through that, even feeling powerless, even feeling whatever I felt, as ugly as it looked on the surface, I went through it and I was able to survive it. Some people don't survive. Okay, that is another story. That is also tragic in its own way. And I don't really want to get too much into that because it's a whole different topic. But for the ones who did survive, in whatever way you did survive, there is power in that. The fact that you survived is powerful, and recognizing that is empowering, because otherwise you keep telling yourself, I cannot do it, right? A lot of the times you have gone through a traumatic event and your narrative later is, I cannot do it, I cannot do it, I cannot do it. Whereas you actually did it. In whatever way you did it, feeling powerless, feeling paralyzed, whatever you did it, you did it. So honoring that is empowering. Recognizing that I did go through it, I could do it, I did do it in whatever way, even if it was not perfect, even if it did not look good, I did do it. I did go through it. And now I can learn from it. And maybe next time I can do something a bit different. Maybe next time I can use some different technique, and just to use it as a learning opportunity again makes it very empowering. But the main thing is that if you have survived, the reality is that you can do it. No matter what people say, how you should have done it, no matter how you think you should have done it, we can drop the shoulds and just say, we did it. I got through it. I survived and I am here. And now I can use my power and change it and do something different. Allowing yourself to be victimized, I'm not saying go and be a martyr and just allow yourself to be victimized, but if you have been victimized, allowing yourself to recognize that is important. A lot of people, they are carrying programs of how it is supposed to be done or the best way to do it. And they keep judging themselves against this ideal. Again, like there is probably a self-help coach or guru who told you that this is the way it is supposed to be done. And they set this perfect ideal without giving you space to be imperfect. And every time you cannot do it perfectly, again, you are being harsh with yourself, you're criticizing yourself instead of being compassionate and realizing this is my level, this is all I could do, and it's okay. In this, you can see that it is actually the guru or the coach that is oppressing you with by putting you into this state of doing something that you are actually not even capable of doing, is not honoring and recognizing the level that you are at. And sometimes that itself is just what is needed for many people, is to recognize that right now I am only capable of doing the most basic, and it's okay. It's okay that you cannot do something more, to just be compassionate with yourself and to give yourself permission to do what you can. Also, to honor the journey of getting to where you want to be, instead of just being obsessed about the destination. Like, this is my level, I want to get here, but if I just try to jump and be here directly, and I will just keep falling because I don't have what it takes to sustain this level. I may be able to do it once, and then the second time I fail, or I fail from the first time itself, and I just feel like shit about myself because I could not get to this ideal. Is to recognize I am here, and I will slowly keep practicing in increments to get here. So this is one of the ways that victims disempower themselves, is to set unrealistic goals and expectations and fail and then give up. And they just keep stuck in this loop. And then they will try the next technique and they will do the same. Instead of recognizing that everything has to be practiced slowly before it becomes a part of you, before you reach that level. It's to have the beginner mindset instead of having this mindset that I can be an expert in one trial. This is what I would call compassion in action. Is like when you are allowing yourself to go step by step and practice slowly, you are being compassionate in your action, not just as a show, not just telling yourself some things at some nice times, but when you are failing, when you are making mistakes, when you're not able to do as much as you wanted or believed that you should be doing, allowing yourself to be whatever you are, that is compassion in action. I will talk a bit about oppressors and saviors being victims themselves, because earlier I was saying, oppressors themselves are wounded within, and that is why they are behaving in this way. But also, oppressors are feeling like victims in the moment that they're acting like oppressor. And so are saviors. Saviors are going to rescue and be this hero, but at the same time, they feel oppressed, they feel victimized, especially in situations that are perpetuating over time. So if you have to keep picking up after someone, if you have to keep helping someone, generally what will happen is that after some time, the victim not will stop showing gratitude or will start taking you for granted. And that is another trap of the savior, is that then they will start with their own prophecies. No one values me, no one recognizes my importance, and they start feeling like victims again. So a savior is a victim at the same time, an oppressor is a victim at the same time. It's not that I am just a savior, I am just an oppressor. The whole drama triangle is rooted in victimhood. Each role is feeling like a victim at some time. How the oppressor feels like a victim, the reason they switch into that mode where they become oppressive is that they are feeling insecure, is that they are feeling powerless. And the only way that they feel powerful is to assert their authority over others, is to be mean to others, is to make them smaller. By making others smaller, you feel bigger, you feel more powerful. But the reality is that what is driving that behavior, you feel small yourself, you feeling insignificant, insecure, or powerless. And if you are someone, not if you are someone, everyone has an oppressive side. Everyone has a mean side that comes out in some moment or the other. No matter how much you try to hide it, no matter how much you try to be perfect, someday it is going to come out. If you have managed to keep up the perfect act till now, it is going to come out someday or the other. So if you recognize your oppressive side, or when you recognize your oppressive side, it is just to realize that it is arising out of your own wound, out of your own insecurity. And another point I want to make sure is that you may be very nice and kind and gentle and compassionate on the surface or on the outside, and you may be a mute oppressor, which means that your oppressive thoughts are locked inside your head. You never express them to the outside world, but you keep expressing them inside. And not only about others, even about yourself. So being an oppressor doesn't just mean how you behave on the surface, how you behave on the outside. You can be oppressive with your thoughts, with your energy. And it may not show directly, but this is basically what happens to people who are passive aggressive, is that they lock their thoughts inside and they act out their anger. And then they will say, oh, I did not mean to hurt you, but you are hurting the other person, because in reality, you are angry. In reality, you are wounded and you are acting out that wound in oppression. Whether it is passive aggressive and unintentional or intentional, doesn't matter. Finally, it is to recognize that you are wounded and something needs to be healed within you. Like, this is something that had come out when I was giving the course or workshop before. Like, one person was completely unidentified with whatever I was teaching. And like, I could see, like, on the surface they were like being dismissive and looking away, acting bored, but their body language also showed a lot of discomfort. Is not, there was another word I wanted to use. Like, they were very agitated, but not like in a very obvious way, but like, fidgeting, moving around, uncomfortable in general. And so, like, I just asked this person, what do you feel about all this? And they like, doesn't really apply to me. Like, I don't feel like I'm a victim, and I don't really feel like I oppress people. And I may want to help people at sometimes, but I'm not a savior. So you're like, completely disqualifying all the roles and saying, I'm none of this. And me being me, I did not let it go because I knew that there was something behind that. So, I started asking some questions, and basically what came out is that this person lives out the whole drama triangle inside their head. Everything on the surface is an act. They never want to show that they are feeling like a victim. They never want to show that vulnerability. They never want to oppress people, but they keep saying very negative things in their head about others and themselves. And of course, they are saving people, but don't want to admit it. So even if you feel that this doesn't apply to you, is, in my opinion, it's not possible unless you have really done a lot of work on yourself. Even then, like for me, I have been doing this work for 8 years, and I see myself fully in the triangle, fully playing out those roles, not as much, of course, catching myself, healing myself each time that it happens again, but it keeps replaying. And the difference is that the way I respond to it, the way I handle it, the way I deal with it, that is the main difference. So, I have said this before, that this is not a promise of utopia. Sure, you're going to learn tools to operate in the real world. And in the real world, we live in a world that is oppressive. We live in a world where we will be victimized, and where we will see others being victimized. And what you will learn in this course is how to deal with that in empowering ways. For those who are mute victims or mute oppressors or mute saviors, acknowledging that you are in the triangle, acknowledging that you have these parts within you, doesn't change the reality. It only changes your illusion. It only shatters your illusion about who you are or who you are supposed to be or how you are supposed to behave. And shattering this illusion is not the end of the world. It's just the end of the illusion. And accepting it will just make you more real, will just make you more capable of dealing with reality rather than fighting with it all the time.